Making your own tomato cages might sound a little intimidating, but I can promise you that it's much easier than you think, and the results are far better than anything you're gonna find at the store. So last year when me and my husband started our first garden, I knew that we had to plant tomatoes because y'all know tomatoes are like everything to me. Okay, so I knew we had to do tomatoes, but I really wasn't sure how I wanted to support them. You know, people do stakes, and there are different cages you can buy and all of these different options. And as I was looking around and looking at the different cages that were available in stores, they just really aren't that great. They're pretty expensive for what they are. They're not all that tall, so there isn't a lot of room for the tomatoes to grow. And they're kind of flimsy. They're not really that sturdy to support a plant and to be something that's gonna last from year to year. So as I was on my search for the perfect tomato cage, I started looking into making my own cages at home. And I heard from a few people that, you know, if you use the right materials, you can really make a tomato cage at home pretty easily, and it's much sturdier than the ones you find in the store. It's more durable, and they're cheaper. So when you put all those things together, plus the fact that they're not hard to make at all, it seemed like the perfect option for us. And so last year we did it, we tried it, we were super happy with the results. We kind of got this method down that we really liked, and so I thought that I would show you how to do it, because I know that if you are growing anything, and tomatoes are one of the more common things that people grow, that you're probably looking for a way to support those tomatoes, and I think this is a great option. So this is what we're gonna be making our tomato cages out of today. This is concrete wire or steel wire remesh, and this stuff makes awesome tomato cages. You can find it at your local hardware store. It's 5 feet tall and 150 feet long, and out of one roll you can get 29 to 30 tomato cages. So this is what the wire looks like up close, and as you can see, the holes in the wire are really big, and that's great because it's really easy to get your hand through there and pick your tomatoes, and you don't have to worry about, you know, smushing or crushing any of the tomatoes or having trouble getting them when you're picking them. And the other thing you'll need for this project, which my lovely assistant is so kindly displaying for us, are bolt cutters to cut the concrete wire. You can use pliers, but it's just really tough, and we find that the bolt cutters make the project a lot easier. This is the size that we have, we like them, and they work pretty well. So before we get into the actual tutorial, I wanted to draw a little diagram for you so you can get a better idea of what we're going to be doing, kind of from a bird's eye view. So for a little reference, that's the top of the roll of wire, and that is the bottom of the roll, and we're going to be cutting out sections of this wire. Now, one side we want to be blunt, so that is this edge right here. It's got this full section, a full square of the wire. But the other side we want to have exposed ends. We want these pointy, sharp edges because that is what is going to hook the whole thing together. So when we roll the wire up, the exposed end is going to connect to that blunt end, and all these exposed edges are going to get bent over, and they are going to be little hooks that can hook onto the blunt edge. So if you want to think about it a different way, if we roll the wire up into our cage and we're looking down the center, that's the blunt edge, that's the exposed edge, and this exposed edge is going to come over, bend over, and hook onto that blunt edge to hold the whole thing together. To start making your cage, you're gonna roll out your concrete wire, and you can do this whole thing by yourself, but it's nice to have a helper, and you're also gonna need some stuff to hold the wire down. Now you're gonna count off your sections of wire, and this is how big it's gonna be. We like 9 full sections and then a 10th section for that exposed edge. So once you've got that counted off, you can cut across. Like I said, we do 9 full squares and then a 10th section for the exposed edge. You can make them any size you want, but this is just the size that we like. It seems to work out well for us, so that's why we do it this way. And again, you need a person or a thing, something to hold that wire down, because it has a lot of tension from being rolled up and it can spring up at you. So once that's done, now we're gonna cut off the bottom edge of our cage. And the reason we're doing this is so we can stick the cage into the ground. When we cut that off, these spikes are gonna be exposed, and that that edge, that sharp point, is going to stick into the ground. So cut these off as close to the edge as you can, and you want to have someone come in and step on that wire because, again, it has a lot of tension in it from being rolled up, and you don't want it to spring up and pop you in the face. And it's really important to remember because even if you've made a lot of these, you can forget, like my husband did right there, and it'll pop you in the head, and then you have a cut, and it's bleeding, and it's not really fun. So don't do that. Now we're gonna bend over those exposed edges, and it's really easy to do this with your hands, and this is gonna be our hook. So we've got all these nice little hooks all lined up, and then you just pull the two sides together and hook them together. And again, this whole project can be done by yourself. That's why I'm showing it here by myself, but of course, like most things, it's easier with two people. But all you're doing is pulling these edges together and then hooking that hook end onto the blunt end of the cage. So once you get all that nice and secured, all your hooks are in place, you didn't miss any, then you're gonna go through and clamp them all down really tight so that they're not loose anymore. So you just squeeze them together and get them as tight as possible to make sure everything is secure, and then you press the cage down a little bit to make sure it's a nice circle, not an oval, all of that good stuff, and bam, you're done. So when you're ready to put your cages in the ground, it's really easy. All you have to do is step on that next little rung of wire, and you can push those little spikes into the ground, and it'll be nice and sturdy. And this is a cage we made last year, and as you can see, over time it starts to rust, and that's a really good thing because it makes the cage almost invisible, and it kind of blends into the garden so you can't really see it. So I thought it might be fun to show you the sped up version with a helper. There I am counting out all of our little squares. We used a bucket with some dirt and a stump to hold things down this time. We've used old tires before, that works really well. There I am directing Jason at what to do. But yeah, then he's just cutting things across here, cutting out that section of wire, and this whole thing took us about 3 minutes. And honestly, as we went throughout the day and made more and more of these, we got even faster, probably more like 2 to 2.5 minutes. So if you have a partner to help you out, you can make a lot of these really quickly. And again, step on the wire, don't let it pop your helper in the face. Then you get rid of that bottom piece. And then this is where having a helper really makes a big difference, is bending over those hooks and then pulling everything together. I mean, you can see we kind of just squeeze it and clip it together, and it goes really fast, and then it's all done. So that's how you make your own tomato cages at home. And like I said, these are super durable, they're really sturdy, they last, and they just seem like the perfect way to grow tomatoes. I don't have to worry about tying anything off, you know, as the tomatoes grow. I just kind of stick the branches through the holes, and it kind of supports itself as it climbs. It works out really well, and they're just awesome. Now for storage, you can leave them outside. We did that and it worked fine. If you do want an indoor storage method, you can hold them together with zip ties instead of hooking the metal and then cut the zip ties at the end of the year and try to lay it flat. I know that some people do it that way, so that is an option if you want flat indoor storage, but either way, it works out really well. Now, if you do decide to make these, the roll of concrete wire comes in at around $100, and at first that seems kind of expensive, but when you think about the fact that you get 29 to 30 cages out of each roll, it's really only $3 to $4 a cage, which is much cheaper than what you'd find in the store, and they're better quality than what you would find in the store. So it ends up working out. Now for us, we're growing lots of tomato plants, so we can handle that many cages. If you don't need that many tomato cages, you can always use the wire to build trellising for other garden tools. I'll leave a tutorial for that from this garden guy that I really love, his gardening videos. And he uses the same wire to build trellises, flat trellises for like beans and stuff, so that would work out great too. Or you can always give them to friends or family who need cages. We are like the tomato cage making people in our families now, so we're making some for both sets of our parents. Or if you want to, I suppose you could always sell them to people too. So I say go for it. They're the best tomato cages. They're really gonna last you, and they work really well. So I hope you like this video on how to make your own tomato cages, and please let me know in the comments, what do you like to do for trellising up or staking your tomatoes? What works well for you? And if you do end up making these, definitely send me pictures, let me know, because I would love to hear about your experience and how it turns out for you. And if you are new to my channel and you want more healthy eating tips and nutrition information and other food stuff, then make sure that you subscribe, because eating healthy and living a healthy lifestyle really doesn't have to be complicated, and I want to show you how to do it. Thanks for watching. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.